Okay, in this video, we're going to look at the analysis of the box and whisker graph. So here was from our same set of data, how the change went from, again, this is math questions correct in the exercise, and this was the change. So we always look at center, shape, anything unusual like outliers, and then the spread. Okay, so for this one, we start with center. Center is the median. You can tell the median because of the line, just the center line here, okay, of your box. That's your median. And again, this is like the average or the median estimate of what it should be. So for achieved, we just need to say what it is. The median change is a positive 3 questions. And again, I've included over here the actual units. Now for a better mark, we're going to explain this a little bit, what this actually means. So this shows the average change. Approximately improvement on the math test of over 3 correct without exercise. Now, again, what you're doing here for the higher mark is you're putting this value in context. Okay, so for merit, that's what you need to do. Next, when we look at shape, usually for shape, we look at both the mode, which is the most common value, and the skew, which is comparing the two whiskers here and here. Now in this case, this whisker is longer, so you could say that there was a left skew. Okay. Okay, so there was a left skew. Now again, I want to include the values. So this went from 0.5 to -3, and again, I gave my units, correct answers. And that's good enough for achieved. Again, to get a higher mark, we're going to explain a little bit more. Now here I'm talking about why this makes sense that I'd have a left skew. Now the exercise, I said, wasn't very vigorous, so the majority of the people would be more in this area. And only a few students experienced a very negative effect from being very tired. So this is a relatively small group, whereas the majority of people weren't. So again, I've tried to give it some thought about why the stats look the way they are, which is what you need to do for a higher mark. Okay. Next, there was only one mode. Okay, and again, this should actually color this into green for excellence, and then here for merit. Okay, now of course you won't color it in your own reports. But what we're looking at here, again, I've said what it is. So for achieved, we just said what it is, and we gave some units. However, for merit, I'm going to explain it a little bit more. This shows the biggest group had that. So again, I've put it into context. And then finally, when I try to explain why it looks the way it is, this is when I'm at excellence. This makes sense as all the classes the same age, general health, so you'd expect them to be affected in the same way. Okay? So what I'm saying is if there were very different groups in the class, then I would expect more modes. But there isn't, so there's just basically the one mode. Okay? Next, for unusual, really there's nothing that's completely detached. So I said that, and there's no real groups. Could you call this a group? Yeah, there's only a gap of 1, but you could. And there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. I said there wasn't. Again, as above is expected. So again, I try to give some explanation, some more depth to just having there's no outliers. Okay, and then finally, I brought it again back into context and back into trying to explain what it is, what is going on. And I talk about that this one person, here they got the 6, again, why that might have occurred or why it looks the way it does. Okay, for the spread, I give the general range, and again, goes from one end to the other. Okay, achieved, I'm just doing that. Merit, I'm trying to explain it. This shows that it affected either way. This could actually go towards excellence because, again, I'm trying to put more context into my answer. And then finally, the IQR box. Again, I give the numbers for my achieved. And then for merit and excellence, actually, I was going to say that this could go either way. I did both colors on this. But again, is 0 in the box? 0 isn't in the box. So this suggests that it did have an effect, and I also say what this effect is. Some people in their write-ups haven't been doing that, haven't been saying actually, yes, it had an effect, but they don't say whether it actually made it better or made it worse. Okay, so I include that in this part. And finally, this disagrees with my hypothesis. So at any point, you could be saying about whether this agrees with what you said or didn't. What we're doing here, again, is adding context. Now, I've added excellence in here because I sort of added a reason why I thought the actual students would get worse. Okay, it's not a big reason, and probably I should have some research, even one thing from the internet to back it up, but that's how that went. Okay, so generally this is one example about how you want to cover that analysis. Again, without the highlighting, that's just achieved. Yellow is kind of adding merit, and then excellence, more explanations. That's all.